Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte Strong with Strong Art Creations, and I'm going to be doing some resin work today. I'm going to be working on this 12 by 16 wood canvas, and I'm also going to be filling up this resin mold. I'm going to be working with some acrylic paints and some mica powders. Some of the mica powders are holographic, and I have some Pearl X pigments that I am using. So I'm gonna get mixing. I'm also going to be using the Art and Glow, one of the glow powders. I want to mix up this mold, and I want to use a Pearl X powder in the mold, but I also want to do a glow powder in here so it will glow at night. So I'm going to get to mixing with the resin, and we'll just we'll see how it goes. We'll see what I feel like doing, and we'll see how it goes. So let's get started. I think I'm going to do 6 ounces total for this pour, and if I decide to, I can always come back later to do more on the surface of this, but I'm going to start with a 6 ounce pour. And the way that I do my resin is I use these paint mix cups. I know a lot of people do 2 and 2, pour the resin in 1 cup and the hardener in another cup, but I measure resin to 3 ounces, and then I measure the hardener to 6 ounces. And if I need more, then I just follow the same measure. So for instance, if I needed 12 ounces, I would measure the resin to 6 ounces and measure the hardener to 12 ounces. So the resin is going to go into 3 ounces. I always make sure that it's on a level surface so that I get an exact measure. I make sure that it is to the line, and then I do the same with the hardener, making sure that the hardener is to the line. In this case, because it has moved a little bit, it is slightly above the line of the 3 ounces. So I will go slightly above the line of the 3 ounces with the hardener, or slightly above the 6 ounces with the hardener. And it is showing at exactly the same spot with the hardener as it was showing with the resin. So I'm using a silicone spatula, because with the silicone spatula it makes it very easy to reuse. I'm going to look at the clock and give myself a good 5 minutes for mixing, but I'm also going to just watch it for streaks. scraping the sides of the container. One scrape around as I go, scraping the bottom of the container. Probably could have gone with 8 ounces. Looking at the size of the canvas and the size of the mold, and go ahead and mix some up in another container. The good thing about the Art and Glow resin is you have a 40 minutes work time. So I can get this mixed up. Periodically, as you're mixing, you want to scrape the sides of your container. And scrape the bottom of your container. Alright, so I have the second container of resin mixed up. And I want to show you a little trick for getting the preliminary or the initial bubbles out of your container of resin before you even start to work with it. And that is using your breath. You can blow on it, but you don't really want to get up that close and personal with the resin. So I use a straw. And it pops most of the bubbles. You don't want to breathe in the air through that straw because you're breathing in the fumes and stuff that's right over the resin. So you don't want to breathe in over the straw. You want to breathe in out from the straw. And this resin is really great because there are very few bubbles that crop up. And I'm a very vigorous stirrer when I am stirring the resin. So it's wonderful that it really doesn't create a lot of bubbles, and the bubbles that are there are small bubbles that usually pop very well with the straw method, and then the final torching takes care of the rest of the bubbles. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is pour the mold here. So I'm going to pour the resin into this cup. I'm going to go ahead and do one full container of this. And whatever's left over, I'll use it in the painting. Well, do I want to? Yeah, it'll have some glow powder in it, but that's okay. These little silicone spatulas are great for getting every last drop of the resin out of your container as well. And then I reuse these paint containers. I just set them aside and I let the resin dry in it. And then once it's dry, I pick it out. I sort of crinkle the cup and then I pick out the resin. Okay, so I'm going to use the antique or Aztec gold, it's called. So that is not going to be long enough, a stir spoon, but I'm going to get some of those out anyway. Be pretty generous because I want it to be heavy on the gold color. Copper was my other option. I'll just try, yeah, that'll work, pouring a little bit of the glow powder in. Maybe just a little bit more because I do want it to glow. That ended up being the perfect amount. So now I can write on this mold that it holds 6 ounces of resin. So the next time I decide to pour in this mold, I'll know how much resin to measure. So that's that one. So the cyan blue I want to be a primary color. So I'm going to use this in the cup that I have the most resin in. And then I have an ultramarine blue that I will come over in this cup. This particular ultramarine blue looks like it has a little purple tint to it. And cerulean blue. And then white. And I don't think the white is open. So those are the acrylic paints. I'm going to grab the torch and go over the mold. I want to choose some of the, I like this green, so I think I'll choose some of this green mica. And because I am using the blue acrylic powders, I think I will use a blue mica. And then I'm going to use this kind of brown copper color. It's hard to open these with gloves. And then this lighter copper color. And then this bright copper color. those. And we'll see what these do. These may just kind of look like glitter. And if so, I may do something else. Pretty. I want to save back some of this for a dirty pour, and then, so I'm going to start pouring these in for a dirty pour. So I've covered the canvas with HVAC tape. It's a metal tape used in air conditioning and heating. And it will protect the sides and the bottom. And it also creates an edge. Just trying to make sure that it is getting into the corners. But this is more than likely just the first portion of it. I like to paint in layers. So I will likely come back and do a second something or other to this piece. So this would more than likely be a background, laying in of a background, and then come back in and do something just a little bit different. Still using the same colors, but maybe, you know, more blue, maybe add some more white, maybe add some sand to the piece. I just sprayed alcohol on that. Boy, that ultramarine blue really turned to purple. The copper has taken on a kind of a sand, it looks like sand in the piece, so that's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and we'll see what it settles into. Well, I said I was going to stop, and then I'm continuing to play with it. It has been a little over 24 hours. I'm gonna start taking them out of the mold. Start by loosening the sides of the mold. Okay, so it is now loose around all of the sides of the mold, so I'm going to just try to pop it out. And there we go. We'd have to turn the lights out. We would have to turn the lights out to see the glow factor. We would also have to charge it. So when I get this piece on a canvas, I will give it a charge and we'll see what it looks like glow in the dark. I could come in and do some highlights on the nose and the mouth. So I'll think about that. But for now, I will put that one aside. And I'm going to take the metal tape off of this piece. Little spots where the tape doesn't want to come up off of these. You can just take your box knife, or you can get a pair of tweezers. Normally I wear gloves when I do that process because I want to protect my fingers. And I always suggest that you wear gloves whenever you are using a knife of any kind, just so you can protect your fingers. Sometimes the metal tape comes off in one fell swoop, doesn't stick to the resin at all, and sometimes it leaves little pieces behind that you have to go back and pick off. Because this is metal tape, when you crinkle it up like this, you also want to be careful with your fingers, because the metal tape can develop a sharp edge. The only thing worse than a paper cut would be a metal tape paper cut. I'm just using the tip of the utility knife or box knife to get under the tape and lift it up. So there's a couple of spots here where, for whatever reason, the resin sort of dipped under the HVAC tape, the metal tape. Sometimes that just happens. Usually, if you use this tape and you press down very well, you get a very clean edge. But sometimes, even if you press down very well, sometimes it still just leaks under the tape. So I'll show you what to do. So for these areas, take a blowtorch, heat it up, burn the canvas I'm not going to worry about because I'm going to be painting this anyway. Just don't want any big bumps of resin to be showing through. And then I'll just give this a light sand, and then it's ready to paint. And I'll go around on the other side and do the same thing. And just a reminder, it's good to wear gloves when you're doing this. And by gloves, I mean leather gloves. The main reason why you wear leather gloves when you're doing this is just to protect your fingers from the blade. Okay, I'm gonna go give this a sand, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the painting process. So I have prepared the sides, and I've chosen ultramarine blue to paint the sides. So I will paint them in ultramarine blue, and then I will come back over it with a coat of varnish. Black is always a great choice for painting your sides. For most of my resin pieces, I just let the resin fall over the sides and just have it resin on the sides. And I even let it drip and leave the drips because I like the drips. But I decided with this one to have it be clean sides. And I also decided, just for something different, to use the ultramarine blue, because I mean I always do black for the sides, so I decided to do the ultramarine blue. So I'm going to go in with that. I also thought about continuing on with the burn and having burn sides, but in the end, because the painting is blue, I decided to go with the blue for the sides. And I can always change my mind, come back in with the black if I decide that I don't like the look of the blue. hoping that by painting the sides blue, it will add a depth of color to what is there, because it's all blues already in the piece. Since it is bare wood, it's going to need fairly thick coat of paint here. I think by adding the blue to the sides, it looks more like water. So I have the outsides painted blue, and I'm just going to go over it with high gloss varnish, Liquitex high gloss varnish. And I'm just going to use my gloved fingers to apply this to the piece. I could come in with a brush to put this on, but I find that a gloved finger works just as well. And then I can just throw my glove away, and then there's no cleaning up of the brush to do. Doesn't take very much of the product to coat, and I usually only do one layer. Because the acrylic paints already have a gloss to them. So I'm really just doing the varnish as a protectant. And that's really all there is to it. this piece is finished. The holographic powders do give some holographic effects in this area. Kind of a glimmer and a shimmer effect. I'm not sure what I want to call this piece. But I will think of something. Thank you for watching. I'm Charlotte Strong with Strong Art Creations. I will see you next time.